You're about to see a variety of videos of rotavators rotivating primarily liquid manure, but some solid manure in the soil. We're going to start out with an over-application of manure out of a traditional rear discharge spreader. It was loose. It was when they opened up the end gate, out it came. But what you'll notice here is that we take 6 inches of very wet manure and immediately blend it with dry soil. As you see, the tires indicate how wet the material is in front of the rotavator, and look at the dust coming out the back. We're just doing a tremendous job of mixing in one pass. Now, we would do a better job of mixing with the rear shield all the way down and interfering with the flow of material in and out of the rotavator. But we're getting an adequate job of mixing just with the rear shield up, so there's little need to put it down. As I say, you'll notice how wet the tires are, but how clean the tractor is. And the reason for that is you never pull a rotavator. The rotavator is actually pushing the tractor, helping propel the tractor forward. So we don't need fluid, we don't need wheel weights, we don't need duals. It's just very simply pushing. We do need lugs on the tires, not for pulling, but for holding the tractor back. If these tires were bald, the tractor under firm ground conditions might slide. But again, look at the depth of the wet material and look at the dry material coming out the back. Now this is chopped corn silage stubble. There's not a lot of residue here, but you'll see in a minute how there's so much manure that's been over applied that you don't see any residue at all. Yet we blend in the manure in the residue very thoroughly. But we don't care whether it's pen pack, solid, semi-solid, or liquid. Any way you want to get the manure out there and spread it, that's just fine. Just spread it the best way you can. Spread it as evenly as you can. Distribute it as evenly over the field as you possibly can. And that manure, when rotavated into the aerobic zone, will do amazing things at stimulating soil biology. What you see here is the rotavator without manure on the ground being used to kill some grasses, primarily quackgrass, by getting the roots up on the surface. It just shows you what we can do to separate the roots from the soil, once again with the rear shield all the way up. We are now in a situation where they've applied liquid manure on an alfalfa field in preparation for going to the rotation to corn. Although this tractor does have front wheel assist, again, we don't need it because the rotavator is pushing the tractor forward. Again, we've got the rear shield all the way up because there's no need to put it down. We're doing a wonderful job with the rear shield up as far as mixing, yet we're getting more of the root structure up on the surface for Mother Nature to kill through dehydration, sun, wind, and time, and dehydrating the quackgrass. Any alfalfa, that's simple to kill. We just cut the crown loose from the stem and it's dead. You can see the situation here. You've got a road, a dirt road, and you just slow the tractor down, giving the rotavator more time to work that hard, compacted surface, and you'll get just as good a seed bed where that road is as what you get out in the rest of the field. As the going gets easier, you may find that you can shift up tractor speed, cover more ground per hour in the easy going, but as it gets tough, you slow down. Corn stalks, combine corn stalks this time rather than chopped for silage. Again, notice how dirty the tires are. It's moist and sticky out there, yet the rotavator with the rear shield up is doing a great job of incorporating the manure into the corn stalks for that corn back to corn rotation. This is a situation where during the winter a conventional manure spreader broke through the frost and got stuck. What they ended up doing with that rear discharge spreader is emptying it out in one big pile on the ground and then pulling the spreader out. The rotavator is going through right now through that pile of manure where you just know how cold, wet, and sticky it is underneath that excessive amount of manure. But the rotavator pushing the tractor allows us to go through it. Now, watch very closely as he comes back through again. You'll see how deeply the tractor sinks. Without the push of the rotavator, this is impossible with a disc or a field cultivator or anything that you have to pull. Admittedly, this is a two-wheel drive tractor. A lot of farmers have front-wheel assist, but once again, look at the depth that the tractor tires are sinking down, yet it makes no difference for the rotavator. The rotavator pushes the tractor on through. You listen to the engine RPMs change as the machine goes deeper in the soft going. This is a dragline system where they're pumping potentially, I think the record is up to 10 miles. Don't quote me. But in the world of liquid manure, there's some pretty crazy things people are doing out there as far as pumping through a system of fixed pipe and flexible hose, great distances to move a lot of manure in a faster period of time than what it would take transporting it with honey wagons or other manure spreaders. This shows the Murphy switch gauge system on this tractor to allow you to shut the pump down from the tractor if something goes awry. This is close to 21,000 gallons an acre being distributed on a nutritional and then incorporated with the rotavator. On a nutritional basis, it's mostly water, but it's out of some lagoons on a hog confinement operation where in this wet spring the effluent was backing up into the hog barns, the confinement barns, and they just had to get the manure out of the holding ponds and out into the field. So you'll see a situation where the ground is moister than what we would like, but it's still dry enough for us to be out there and doing a good job. And here the main objective is simply lower the level in the reservoirs, in the effluent ponds, and get it spread evenly on the ground. Now this tractor is much bigger than what's necessary for the job, but that's what he had shy of renting a smaller tractor. This job can be done with a 130 horsepower, 135 horsepower two-wheel drive tractor. The machine shown here is 10 foot wide, although this tractor could certainly very easily handle a 15 or even a 20 foot wide machine if there were no stones out there. And in this case, there are no stones, so if the farmer had a wider machine, he could accommodate it. But notice the condition of the soil. The soil is already wet. Look at the sheer volume of material being applied directly in front of the rotating blades, and look at the ground coming out the back. It's very nicely distributed and mixed thoroughly. With liquid manure, you do not necessarily need to use a drag line. You can use a honey wagon and just apply it on the surface and then come back and incorporate it in a separate operation. This is a dairy farmer where the manure was applied on a stand of alfalfa during the winter. There was some talk of winter kill. By the way, this is that extremely cold, wet spring of 1993. But as it turns out, he had very little winter kill. You don't see the manure because the alfalfa is so tall, but this is a good biological farmer, and it's just time to feed the soil. Again, the shield is up because there's no reason to put it down. He's doing a good job of killing the alfalfa with the shield up. Everything is flowing easier and better through the rotavator with the shield up. And as I say, in this condition, there's no reason to put it down. Look around wherever the alfalfa is laying down, it's because the manure that came out of the spreader laid the alfalfa down. But that's one pass. It's too cold, moist, and sticky to think about planting this day. But essentially, he's done. He might want to tickle it with a field cultivator before planting it whenever the soil temperature and moisture conditions are correct. This is Bob Salverson in Viroqua, Wisconsin, who has arguably the fastest rotavator in the Midwest. You'll notice we have another video on Bob, but what you see here is Bob going 11 miles an hour, incorporating 18,000 gallons per acre of liquid manure that was just applied. The honey wagons have left the field of view, and what you see here is liquid manure running down the hill, and his incorporating it just as quickly as possible. His rule is you never apply manure unless you can rotivate it before the sun goes down, and it's rewarded him very well. Bob has over 50 years of rotivating experience on his family's farm and on his own farm in Viroqua, Wisconsin, and it's just a practice that served him very well. Without reading a book, going to a meeting, or having a consultant, Bob's system of farming has evolved such that he's an outstanding biological farmer. As I say, he makes one trip over his manure, and it's done to perfection and mixed in the aerobic zone. That ground will pass what I call the scratch and sniff test. You can crawl your way over the ground and not get wet, and you will not smell any manure. You want to make the best use of liquid manure. You want to mix it within the aerobic zone and bring that manure in contact with as much biological life as possible. That's how you deal with the smell issue. But notice how clean the tractor is, and that's simply because you never pull a rotavator. Once again, it's pushing the tractor, so your tires are not slipping. You're not throwing things, wet material, off of the tires. What you see coming off the tires is just sliding off, as opposed to spinning and slipping off. This is not manure. This is an interesting product, which is a byproduct of the production of audio and videotapes, technology from the past. This is EPA approved for ground application. Notice how wet it is in front of the rotavator and how dry it is behind the rotavator. Very simply, we are going deep here, deeper than we normally go for an agricultural application. But that's simply because the material has been put on too heavily, and there's water standing on top of it. And we want to go deep to bring this material in contact with as much dry soil underneath as possible. But again, what you're seeing is impossible with a draft tillage tool. It's the power going directly into those rotating blades that not only propel the tractor forward, but do an outstanding job of mixing. So please, any questions you have on mixing any type of manure, pen pack, solid, semi-solid, or liquid, in any condition you can imagine, please give us a call. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.